What is up, Nintendo Land? Welcome to Nintendo Open Air Podcast. Seeking technologies that expand the scope of Nintendo Switch and gaming and beyond. Those are the words of Ko Shiota, and that is Nintendo's mantra this week. We've got new patents, new hardware, new Pokemon. Oh, and there's this little thing called Labo you may have heard of. So last week we brought you the drought. This week we bring you the future. So as always, before we begin, let me introduce our panel tonight. We've got a full house tonight. So we've got Mo with us, and Z, and our favorite arcade bunny is with us. And Barry is joining us once again. So glad you could make it again. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. So tonight we're going to start with a topic that's on every Nintendo fan's mind, and that, of course, is Nintendo Labo. So before we get to the latest news, I've got to ask, who is still on the day one bandwagon?
You got Z, and I don't know if Barry was day one. I know Z.
I don't know.
One.
I don't know how quickly I'll be able to find one.
Oh, so you didn't pre-order?
No, I don't pre-order things.
Oh, okay. So Mo pre-ordered and canceled.
Yeah. Although I feel like this is something you're not going to have to pre-order.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sure.
You can't do the artificial scarcity on this one.
I only pre-ordered it so that it'll be delivered to my house, and I don't have to worry about it anymore since I never make it out of the house since I have a baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this will be plentiful out there. I don't know. I heard somebody saying
sure.
they had asked, like, their local GameStop, and just like about, like, you know, how's interest in this? And they said, we've had a lot of people curious. So it could really go either way, I guess.
I don't know. It's like with ARMS, man. Like we were saying earlier, we're not necessarily representative of gaming demographics or whatever, but we're reasonably representative of Nintendo fans, our group here. And whenever none of us is buying something, or or one or two of us is, usually that's a bad sign. That was a bad sign for ARMS. Like it was me me and one of the other guys were the only ones that bought ARMS. It seems like me and Barry and maybe Dana are the only ones buying Labo.
But also, this isn't necessarily for us either. Like, this is its own kind of thing. It is very casual, and it's mainly aimed at people with kids, and that's okay. But people who specifically have kids that are old enough to build this stuff.
If they want to make it a go of it and try and make it popular, though, they're going to make sure that at least the opening wave is going to be available.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's going to be all over the place. I think for whatever they afford. We were talking a little bit before we started tonight about just shelf space, because we've seen pictures of the boxes these things are in. They're pretty substantial. So I don't know if they're going to have like their own little displays that Nintendo sends out that hold them, you know, like around Christmas time. Sometimes they'll have like little cardboard standees where they just stack, you know, a couple boxes in each little cube.
One thing I've noticed is stores like Target are clearancing out what amiibo they have left. And I'm wondering if that's to take the amiibo space and turn it into a Labo space.
Ooh, very, very astute. Yeah, that's very interesting. We have been noticing that shelf space getting shuffled around lately, and the amiibos getting kind of crammed into their own little slot. That's a very good point. I bet you that's exactly where the Labo stuff's going to go next. And then just as quickly drop on discount and disappear like the amiibos, I would imagine.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to do like any kind of display, like, you know, have an RC car like under a little plastic dome or something that you can try out, or if they'll do any kind of, you know, demo, or they'll have like, this weekend Nintendo's coming to Best Buy to, you know, do a Labo demonstration, or
I expect that will happen.
You know what they'll do.
In-store events, yeah. Otherwise, I bet they'll just have a little like thing running a video. I can't see them. It would be neat if they had a little.
It seems like this is the kind of thing you'd want to go hands-on with. Like,
yeah, you would think, like, for toy stores, like, you know, rest in peace Toys R Us, right? Stuff like that at Toys R Us would be huge. I would think that would sell a ton of them.
Yeah.
At Best Buy, maybe not so much. I don't know. But I can't see them putting out for cardboard. Here's the thing. The product in itself is cardboard. I can't see them putting out that much money. I mean, you know, they're marketing it and
Yeah.
everything, but you know what I mean. At some point, it's stupid to be building hardware to send out to stores for a product that is far less substantial than the marketing materials you're sending out to the stores. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
That's
But it
just-
also costs them nothing to send out cardboard either, you know, and
Yeah.
some software.
Well, you
True.
And they've
remember
already got demo stations. I don't know.
comparing it to the Amiibo, you remember they had those little stations, which I think have all been basically removed now, with the
Yeah.
little screen, and you know they had like
And a
the
couple
AC
Amiibo under
Amiibo
the
cards.
yeah.
So maybe we'll get something like that.
That's true. Yeah, just take out open them up, take out the amiibos, and put little Labo cars in there.
The little RC cars in them. Yeah. I don't know. I'm interested to see what you think of it. I'm assuming you're going to build at least a few things right away. Right? See? Like you'll build the cars for sure.
Yeah, I'll bust out the cars to try them out, and then figure out from there. Like I said, I got the in-laws staying around, and they're all dorky, so they might find something interesting. I don't have any kids of the right age right now. So honestly, I'm fully planning to leave at least some of these in the closet until she is old enough. You know,
Check
it
out
just
this
depends.
cardboard I've been saving for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, she won't know I've been saving it that long.
Yeah, you'll tell her.
And
Who
if you
knows if
guys,
the Switch will even be a thing then? Oh,
if you guys get these out and are building them, take some photos or some short videos or something. I mean, we can pop them up on the podcast.
I'll do an unboxing.
yeah.
Unboxing the boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know one of my kids is gonna love the house, so probably do that one, a car, and I think another one might like the fishing, or there's a couple
Yeah.
of them that might have appeal with different kids. So
And the kids are supposed to like have fun decorating them and stuff like that. Like you can get the little sticker packs and stuff like that. It's just I don't know.
They all look really neat. We'll see.
Yeah.
I just the main reason behind me getting rid of it of my pre-order was just I was like I'm going to use this stuff
And then it's gonna fall apart. Yeah.
maybe then it's either going to fall apart or I'm just going to have to find a place to store this where it's not going to get smashed. And everyone I've heard that's went hands-on said that once the stuff is put together, you really can't get it back apart, or you're really not supposed to take it back apart to like flatten it back out for storage and stuff, like the fishing rod and stuff. They're like, once it's together, it's pretty much together.
No, and I can appreciate not having space to put it.
Yeah, or just to keep it, make sure nobody steps on it or doesn't get crushed under something.
Right.
I think the idea, I'm gonna build one, and then when I eventually destroy it, then I'll build the next one. And then I only have to ever store one at a time.
Yeah. These aren't cheap. We should mention. I mean, you're talking about if you buy both, you're well into close to what, $150. That's a lot of money for something. You want to take care of it. You know that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, fortunately, you get the 20% off from Best Buy and I assume Amazon. But even then, it's like you're paying. I'm embarrassed. I pre-ordered both, and I'm embarrassed to admit how much. I have to go back and check, but I think it was like $110 I'm paying for cardboard, basically, and a bunch of mini games.
And sweet software. I wonder if the software is actually the same for both of them, or if it's actually different.
You have to change the cards for everything. That would be.
That's an interesting thing. Yeah, I wonder if like the variety pack has the giant robot, like if it's just one thing. I kind of doubt it.
Me too.
Same. Unless it's just, I don't know. It'd be interesting. No one has commented on that.
Yeah, well, we don't know because they're not sending out review copies.
That's true.
So,
well, when I had first heard about it, I was like, cardboard? No way. But then Z was on board. Momo had pre-ordered it. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll get it. Yeah, why not? And then I went to Nintendo's.
Don't ever let me buying something influence you, because I think it's already been established. At least as far as Nintendo stuff goes, I'm just a sucker.
Well, then I went to Nintendo's official website for Labo, and it just shows like kids putting it together, and it's like, we're gonna have an event where you can take your kids, and I'm like, I guess this is for kids, so I'm not gonna buy it then.
That kind of brings up a question that we talked about before the podcast. everyone that was looking into buying it pretty much has kids. If you didn't have kids, would you still be interested?
I would, but I love the gimmick stuff.
Much less so in my case. There's a few things I might be interested to try, but whether it would be enough motivation to actually make a purchase, I'm not confident at all.
But by the same token, if you don't have kids, you've got more money.
That's true.
That is very true.
See, for me, if these were broken up into individual kits and I could get them for 10 or 15 bucks, like the price of an amiibo, I'd get one and try it. But yeah, it's a huge money investment, and then like the storage thing and how long is it going to be interesting, all those things have been playing in my mind. Of course, I have said openly since the beginning, I thought it was kind of crazy, so that's me. And I love Nintendo gimmick stuff too, but
Well, as a Google fanboy, like to me, this immediately, right? Because the Google had done the cardboard thing first. So to me, it totally was like, oh, of course, that's, of course Nintendo should do that. And again, it's a neat idea, and it's its own little programming interface for the Switch, which is cool. It's kind of like a right. There's a lot of these STEM toys for kids these days, right? For teaching science and mathematics and whatever. And this is totally that. It's all logic based, simple programming type stuff, but for physical objects, not just for games. So it's in that way, it's like Arduino, if anybody's familiar with that. And I only know it from all my model airplane stuff, but right, that's the it's kind of it's a programming language, but for physical, for robotics, things that can do like water and temperature and chemical sensors and run servos and turn on lights and do that kind of stuff, right? It's that kind of format. And this is Nintendo kind of putting their toe into that. And that also kind of dovetails in with, I know it's a separate subject, but they are kind of related. This company, the Scrum Ventures or whatever, that's supposed to be like a think tank developing new ideas for how to use the Nintendo Switch hardware. I think it all kind of ties together in Nintendo seeing the Switch as the center of its own new universe, right? You have your phone and you have your TV, and then like I get where they're all switch in every household, switch in every human being on the planet will have a Switch. I get the idea of where they're going with this. They really are just going to push as much stuff for the Switch that it can effectively appeal to everybody is their goal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So as they don't want to watch Netflix.
Yeah, except Netflix. No, we know media streaming stuff's coming. There's all sorts of little rumbles from the various, what was it? What was the Funimation and these other just kind of random oddball apps and channels that are like, yeah, we're coming to Switch eventually, and we know it's all coming after the online, the paid online does. So it's right. Nintendo really is trying to position this thing as a do-all thing that does basically it's right. It's like Aflac supplemental insurance. Your phone is like your regular insurance. It does most everything you need, but any weird random oddball thing that it can't do that you're not thinking of right now, that's what the Switch will do. I think that's right. That's what Nintendo's positioning this at. Yeah, right. Stuff you don't know you want.
That's what the Switch will do.
Yep.
Yeah. And that is definitely Nintendo's ideas as a whole, I think, is to give you the things you didn't even know you want. Most of the time, they're brilliant. So
I give them 50-50 on that.
Well, maybe.
But the brilliant outweighs the stupid and weird, regardless. But I give them, idea for idea, I would say they really are about 50-50. But the good ones are really good.
Yeah.
Sometimes the bad ones are pretty bad though too.
That's true, but they did get us all to, some of us to buy cardboard, and they've got us all to buy tiny plastic figures of video game characters. So, I mean, there's something going on there. They get it right on occasion. All right,
It's
well,
called manipulation.
well,
Sorry, go ahead.
moving on with the Labo topic, we had another bit of news, and I thought this was interesting. I don't know that anybody else really thought it was all that interesting, but cardboard suppliers in Japan. So there's been a lot of speculation about who's supplying this cardboard that Nintendo is using and whatnot. So basically this speculation come, and it's for a company called Omura Shigyo. And when this was sort of speculated that they may be the supplier, their stock quadrupled back in January. So it goes on, and Nintendo's been secretive about it, and finally it's come out into the open that Ringo Corporation has been confirmed as the supplier, and their stock rose 1.5%, and Omura Shigyo dropped 4.1%. So it's kind of interesting to see how Nintendo gets behind an idea and how it affects other areas of business. So I guess I'm the only one that finds that interesting.
And that cardboard is publicly traded.
That's true. Well, the company that got this is the third largest packaging and container maker in Japan. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
definitely a business. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in cardboard boxes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what's so funny about it is it's a company that makes cardboard boxes. So it's probably the company that did Nintendo packaging in the past anyway.
That's true.
It's like, hey, guess what we got for you now?
Well, you remember they started doing the empty boxes a while back, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That was the warm up.
Yeah, we didn't
So
know it was pre-Labo.
Yeah, I mean those guys.
But
must
they also have to be able
the
to
empty boxes, but now they're really gonna love them.
They have to be able to make, pre-printed things that are laser cut and all that too, and be able to switch over.
Well, they are like cardboard boxes.
And also thought it was interesting that all of this, it seems from the article that I read, that all of this is being shipped from Japan. We have to get our cardboard imported from Japan. I don't know. You'd think they would have more regional, companies involved. I don't know.
That's news. I mean, to me, I didn't really think about it. I totally assumed that would be printed locally, for God's sakes, just for efficiency. Right? That has to make more sense to print it here than to ship it. That's just right.
The way the article read to me, and it's the way I understood, it's like they're saying this one company is responsible for all of Labo. Or why would there not be other speculation about, like the North American or the European or the Australian? No.
Like they even produce the media here locally. Like I don't know, man. That's surprising, but not entirely surprising. You know what I mean? It's a Nintendo thing and it's a Japan thing, and you know how nationalist they are. So maybe, but that's weird.
And they've got to have their thumb on the control button for everything. So,
but yeah,
cardboard.
Like we were saying though, any company, like however well this sells, we know Nintendo just ordered a huge production run of cardboard. Right. So this company made money. Definitely. In any case. And therefore, any stock rise would be attributed to that. Even if it tanks, that this was a lucrative deal for them.
That's right. Good point. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I worked briefly cutting cardboard boxes out of sheets of cardboard. And I try not to think about it too much.
Is Labo going to bring back bad memories?
As long as I'm not on that cutting press, it should be fine.
Okay. All right. Moving on. We've got a topic that I know at least Mo and Barry here are more interested in, and that is Rocket League. It's finally been patched for Switch, and there was some downtime there, I think, where it was Switch only, and I heard some pretty horror stories there, pretty big horror stories.
Yeah, they basically they had a new patch, that was supposed to add this new performance mode and stuff, and they patched some other stuff across all platforms, and there was issues with the patch where people were one of the things they did was they added these new icons because people they're so tired of people blaming the crappy servers on Rocket League that they've started putting these like little warning things that pop up that say like your connection sucks and things like that, basically, so that you don't blame them, that that's on your issue, that's your issue, not theirs. And they were popping up when they weren't supposed to, and all kinds of other stuff. So they basically they patched it for all the systems, but Nintendo has a couple extra days that we've talked about, I think, before with some other patches, that Nintendo has like a certification process they have to go through that takes longer. So for 2 days, the patch was submitted to Nintendo, but waiting for approval. So they basically shut down cross-play for Nintendo, so you could only play with other Nintendo people. And yeah, it was awful. Just because I'm sorry out there, but I don't have a high opinion of Nintendo Switch Rocket League players, even though I am one. So I lost quite a few, but it's back up now. The patch went live, and everything seems okay. I'm still having some intermittent crashes, although they don't seem to be as frequent as they used to. So maybe they had mentioned something about a memory leak. There was some sort of memory leak that could have been causing the Switch to crash during Rocket League. So it seems a lot better. It's at least playable. I can sometimes play it for 3 or 4 hours in a row without it crashing at all, which I couldn't do before. So
that's a big improvement.
Yeah, all in all, it's good. And obviously, you guys know I love the new video capture feature that they added with that last update too. I can probably share clips on Twitter.
Are you able to use your items from that batch of stuff that was bugged?
Yeah. I've been using those, and haven't been crashing. That was the main thing I did. I switched all those items from that victory crate because I was like, all right, let's put them to the test. And so, I mean, I occasionally will get crashes here and there, but for the most part, it's been a lot better. So I can, it's at least tolerable now. And then, as a bonus, they gave everyone on all system 3 free keys to open the little loot crates. You got 3 free keys as an apology for all the trouble. So they're all in all a pretty decent company. Like I said, they pay a lot of attention on Reddit when people report issues to them. I emailed back and forth for a while. Didn't get a whole lot of anywhere with them, but they were still kind and courteous and replied, in a timely manner. So they're a good company to work with. Yeah. So they're good on that end.
Yeah, I noticed the difference in skill level when it went down to only Switch, but I don't play competitive as much, so it wasn't as big an issue, and I was able to play through it a little bit better. It's actually interesting, the free decryptor bonus they gave out. I was actually thinking about buying some keys around that time, but it so happened that the first one I used, I got, the highest rarity item I've ever gotten, and anything after that just seemed disappointing, so it actually cost them a sale in a way.
Oh yeah, they blew it.
But there's always another crate coming one of these days, or you'll see something else and you'll say, oh, maybe I'll go back in for that.
Yeah, one of these days, but it wasn't this weekend anyway.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've always thought with the price of Rocket League is so low, even compared to some other games. And like for the amount of hours I've gotten out of Rocket League, I think I just surpassed 700 hours. So it's like
you're at pennies an hour. You're at like pennies an hour now. Yeah.
I don't mind tossing a few bucks here and there to make my car look cool. But yeah,
I don't have near as much time in, but even for me, it's past Splatoon now in total play times. So
yeah, which is saying a lot because that's probably your second highest one, right? Was Splatoon
for the Switch, yeah.
And again, that's the cost of a movie ticket these days. So if that's your gauge, that's only 2 or 3 hours of entertainment versus hundreds.
Yeah, that's why I wish there was more sports stuff on Switch, like a game like that where it's pretty much the same thing, but every time it's a little bit different. Like it's just enough to kind of keep you engaged.
Well, good basic multiplayer team games. Like again, I'm looking forward to Morphe's Law, although right? A year and a half ago, or whenever, a year ago, when they first announced that thing, we were all like, "Ooh!" And now, like, who cares anymore, right? Right?
Well,
It's been too damn long. When it finally comes out, I may or may not buy it. Like, it was an absolute purchase for me 6 months ago, and now probably not. I'm over it. It's been too damn long. I've moved on. I don't care anymore.
it'll quietly be released on the eShop some random Thursday in the next 6
With
8
20, with 20 other things, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, side note, loot boxes. They're adding those. They just added those to Pocket Cramps, didn't they?
Yeah, Nintendo is the new EA.
Not quite, but
Not quite. It's getting
Yeah.
there.
because they don't get Star Wars.
They added something called fortune cookies, where there's like fortune cookies that there's like 3 different kinds of fortune cookies, and each one has like a set of 12 items, kind of like the crates in Rocket League, and you randomly get them, and you can get duplicates of the same item. And if you get every single item in the crate, you unlock a memory, which is a cute little video that plays or something.
These are based around characters, right?
Yeah, that are based around characters. So you have to have those characters invited to your town. But the real kicker is they're 50 leaf tickets per cookie.
$3.
Yeah, which is you can buy 40 tickets for like $3 or $2 or something, and then you can buy another 20 for like an extra $1. So basically, it's $3 per cookie. And since it's a random drop, you're at least paying like 10 or 12 bucks, or well, no, that times 10 or 12. So you're paying like $50 if you have perfect luck to unlock one of these memories. Because it takes, I mean, they do give you tickets in that game, but it takes a while to accrue them.
Slow. Yeah.
And it's 50's quite a bit. Like, so that really turned me off. And it's like, I don't understand. I mean, I was kind of out of Pocket Camp anyway, but it's like, yeah, I think their user base is shrinking. So they're like, we got to maximize the dollar value out of anybody who's left while we can.
I will say that most of the people that I know of who play Pocket Camp still, they're just really dedicated to it, and they're really, hard into finishing all of the special events that come up, and crossbreeding flowers and all that. They're really hard into it, so it'll be interesting to see if that alienates anyone, or if it becomes more lucrative, which I can't.
Those people were in New Leaf too. The ones who are obsessed about their town like paths, like making the paths look pretty and putting down custom patterns and making sure they had all the right flowers in all the right places. And
it's a little bit different. I did that. I mean,
oh, I know you did.
I know. That's why you mentioned it. I know. But that's also not costing you money, just your time. I think about the festivals in New Leaf, like the Bunny Festival. I forget the proper name of it.
Yeah, or the Halloween.
Or Halloween, where you get a chance at a random item, and you get down, you've got like 10 pieces of furniture, and you need 12. You keep trying for that carpet or that chair that you can't get. So if it's anything like that, that's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's like that, except for it's random and it's costing money every time. So you got to really, really love Pocket Camp to be putting that kind of money into it.
The real money thing is
even if they said, by the way, this stuff will transfer to the Switch version, I still don't think that's enough to get me in.
Yeah,
no. I think I don't know how they do it in Pocket Camp. I haven't played in a while, but like in Fire Emblem Heroes, when something new comes out, you do have to have orbs to get new heroes. But they're really good about here's orbs as an apology for this, or here's orbs because we're giving you new heroes. Here's something, but there's nothing like that in Pocket Camp, is there?
Yeah, no, well, they sometimes have things like right now there's a login bonus where you can get 10 leaf tickets for a couple of the days. I did see they added some stupid stretch goals for this, and one of the stretch goals is if you unlock a memory, you get 5 leaf tickets.
If you spend 50 leaf tickets, you get 5 leaf tickets.
Well, no, you have to spend more than 50 leaf tickets. Yeah, you have to spend like 700 leaf tickets if you're perfect to get 5 free.
It's just like gold coins.
It's a good deal. Yeah.
My Nintendo.
Maybe the Nintendo people thought this up.
That sounds, yeah, probably. Wouldn't surprise me. it kind of sums up Pocket Camp a lot to me. It's a lot of investment, a lot of time, a lot of effort for very, very little reward.
Yeah. But admittedly, the whole purpose of this corporation is to make money. They weren't just benevolently giving us.
But make money
Camp.
off of fun, not just make money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's gotta be fun still.
Well, if you're a completionist, I don't know.
You gotta
I've been playing it
to buy this stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
I've been playing it pretty regularly since the start, trying to get all the special stuff that came out up until this past week or so. And occasionally I would spend some of the Leaf tickets when they had a character item or something like that came up. But mostly I've been saving them, and I've got about 750 right now. And that's because every event does provide some.
Right.
You can save up a little bit because you can get more than you need, but it's a long time to build them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those 750.
You gonna try for a memory?
Get you one memory.
I haven't even played the last day or two, so I don't know enough about the memory thing to know if I'm going to go for any of them. But it sounds like from what you've been saying, no.
Yeah, you'll just have to buy fortune cookies for 50 apiece and cross your fingers.
Yep.
Yeah, if there's no other way to play for them, then I can't see dumping tons of Leaf tickets into that.
Do you recall the three characters that it's based around?
They're different.
They're different.
One of them's Marshall, and Kid Cat is one of them. Filbert and Kid Cat.
Yeah.
And then there's like one
Rosie.
from Marshall. Goldie, I think, was involved.
I thought there were only three. There's more than three?
There's three different cookies, but each of the memories involves like two or three of the.
So you have it makes a little more sense, I guess.
So maybe
I thought it was specific.
And the update before where they added what's his name, the Pelican with his boat, that one really threw me for a loop too, because that one you have to trade in a bunch of your items, and I've only been making the required items, and I don't make many duplicates, so I didn't have items to just give away to get little snacks to give to people to try and level them up. The last couple of things they've put in here really haven't appealed to me much.
You're talking about
the snacks was pretty stupid.
Gulliver, right?
Yeah, Gulliver. I forgot his name there for.
Yeah. I traded him like 9 items one day and got nothing out of it.
To me, this always just felt like a chore from the get-go.
Yeah,
like this was never fun. I don't know.
It wasn't.
It's kind of like if you bought Animal Crossing New Leaf, but the only objective in the game was to water all the flowers in your town. If anyone who's played New Leaf for a while and has tried to keep up a perfect town,
well,
yeah,
water those flowers.
I just thought of this in New Leaf. The different animals have different names depending on what region you're in, but in Canada they all have the same name as United States, right?
It's North America, baby.
Yeah, I think so. It's the same region.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was thinking of Filbert, but in my mind I kept thinking Ricky, which is what his name is in Japan. So I was sitting here trying to remember the American name.
Japanese names of the.
Yeah, I'm glad they Americanized it for us.
Yeah.
They put Ricky in, what do you call it, katakana or hiragana?
But see, there's an English character named Ricky who is also a squirrel, but he's yellow. And Filbert is a light blue squirrel, if you don't know what he looks like. So it's weird. There's other names like that, to where it's like in Japanese it's this name, but in America it's the same name, but it's a different character. Yeah. It's interesting.
If you'd like to know more about the squirrels of Animal Crossing, visit No.
Just contact us on Twitter. I'll be happy to talk to you about the squirrels of Animal Crossing.
Ad nauseum.
That's right. I think that's me getting booed off stage. So
no, that's fine. Let's move it along.
Moving along.
Pocket Camp has taken more than enough of our time.
Pocket Cramp.
All right. So the next game is a game I think most of us here have a soft spot for, and that is Shovel Knight. And they recently announced that they've sold 2 million copies now. And they say it's sold faster on Switch than any other platform. And I like this comparison. They had a comparison for the first month of sales. On PC, they sold around 70,000. On Switch, they sold 120,000. So
Oh. And they've sold over twice as many copies as Doom has sold on the Switch.
Yeah.
And need we point out the PC install base?
This
Like,
is huge.
yeah, I don't know what I don't
100
know what
million?
Steam's numbers are, but I know Shovel Knight wasn't necessarily only available on Steam. There's other platforms.
right.
Yeah.
But it's just like, yeah, that's crazy. And again, also the other thing about Shovel Knight is it's a very low requirement game,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It's an old 8-bit.
Also,
or
the visibility comes into play. It was launch title, for Switch too.
Yeah, and it
So-
already had a huge name by the time it launched for
Right.
Switch. But then that said, it already had a huge name by the time it launched on Switch. It's like Skyrim. It's like people are still buying this. Yep, they still are. And I don't know how many are double dipping or whatever, but it's a thing. And again, I find it surprising because it's a game that'll play on just about any PC because it's low requirements. And the PC install base is gigantic, and then Switch
Yeah.
eclipses it like
That's
nothing.
still impressive. That's still
Years
impressive just
later.
based on the install base.
I have
Yeah.
like no time into it, but I double dipped on Switch when it went on sale a while back, just to have it.
It's probably a good call. I have it on 3DS, and I rarely play anything on 3DS now. So
See, I had the choice somehow. I think I get it as I think I got it as part of a Humble or something. Maybe I did plunk down for it, but I opted for the Wii U one and kind of regret it. Really regret it.
that's really
Yes.
unfortunate. It's a great game.
I've not
played-
gone back to it a bunch though. Like once I beat it, I was kind of done. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't even beat
You're
it.
a newer adopter. We kind of pressured you into that, or I pressured you into that one.
I like the game well enough. I haven't gotten far in it, but I like to poke at it every once in a while. Comparing with the PC thing, very few games do I play on computer, and usually the ones that I do are ones that require a keyboard.
Yeah. I think it's a lot harder to find on PC unless you're looking for it too, though. And we've talked about ad nauseum. If you go into to the Steam, there's a billion games.
For a while during its launch period, it was I remember seeing it on the headline boards and on the whatever the featured section and yada yada. So it popped up here and there, but I know what you're saying. It's not like there's thousands and thousands and thousands of games on Steam, right? And I don't know, on Switch we've got like 500 or 600 at this point. And when Shovel Knight came out, we had like 100 or two, right? Shovel Knight was a relatively early launch.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if we had that many. It was really early on.
You're right. We probably had a couple dozen.
So I think a lot of people, when they finished Breath of the Wild, went to Shovel
That's
Knight.
true. Yeah, Shovel Knight. You're right. That was kind of that. It came out during that window. That was when I opted for Blaster Master Zero and Snake Pass were my post Breath of the Wild games.
Does anyone own the Shovel Knight amiibo?
I do.
But what do they
I've got
do?
one.
It unlocked multiplayer on the Wii U.
Oh, okay.
Like
How
a
about the
co-op
Switch?
mode.
Yeah.
I think on 3DS it unlocked some costumes. I don't know if I've used it on the Switch. Maybe it does the same thing on Switch as it did on 3DS.
That's
Is
a
the
good
co-op
question.
mode built in now?
That's a good
I don't know.
question.
I would
I
assume
don't
it
remember
wouldn't
if it
be.
was or not. I
'Cause
would think
that
so.
they made that big upgrade from it's no longer Shovel Knight, it's Shovel Knight
No, Treasure Trove. Yeah.
Speaking of that, I wanted to take a moment to point out this is a game that has done exceptionally well, and we're in a year of paid DLC and loot boxes and such. They have given us a ton of stuff, basically new versions of the game for free for buying the game. They're saying they're doing it right.
Well, what? Like I got a couple free DLC updates on Wii U, and that was cool. But then there was like 2 new versions that came out on Switch that were more expensive than the ones that were on the previous consoles. So I don't know if they've been providing more free DLC to the Switch version, or was that just
No,
kind
it's
of
the
a
same stuff.
thing?
You'll have it on Wii U as well. They've just kept adding more like episodes basically with different characters, like the Spectre Knight.
Okay, so like for example,
like
if I get the treasure trove on Switch, what am I getting that I didn't already get on Wii U, or am I getting anything?
Nothing. You're just getting
Oh.
everything that you got before. With King of Cards coming soon.
Are you sure? I thought there was. So when Shovel Knight launched, there was, and I won't stick on this too long, but when Shovel Knight launched, there was the treasure trove, but then there was also some expansion by itself that you could buy separately instead of buying the whole treasure trove. And I was pretty sure
that was just if you
never
wanted to
came out on Wii U.
individually. That was if you wanted to individually buy
the newest one.
Yeah, the Spectre Knight, I think it was.
So
you could buy that for like $8, or you could buy everything for like 24.
Yeah. Whatever. Moving on.
Yep.
Eventually, I
Moving
guess.
on to Shovel Knight,
I was trying to find my amiibo, or trying to find where in the menu it shows amiibo.
It's in your pants.
The new amiibo still have not come out, right? That 3-pack.
Oh, the new Shovel Knight ones?
I don't know if those did or not.
I don't think they actually have a release date yet. I still think they say like December 31st, 2018 on all the sites.
There is a co-op option in the Switch version under the amiibo.
Oh, it is under
you have to scan the amiibo to unlock it. Yeah, so I just went to amiibo. So yeah, you got to scan it. I wonder if you have to do that every single time or what. But either way, it's still in there.
Yeah. I expect the new amiibo will probably arrive close to the new episode there with the King Knight or whatever, King of Cards.
Yeah.
There's a 3-pack Shovel Knight amiibo. So what does it have in it? The Shovel Knight and then two other?
Plague Knight, Spectre Knight, and King of Cards. Yeah,
King Knight.
Yeah,
it's basically the 3.
It doesn't have Shovel Knight. Yeah, it's just it's the additional ones.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to another game, and unfortunately this is a bit of bad news. I just found this out earlier today before we recorded. Dark Souls Remastered has been officially delayed. Both the game and the amiibo have been knocked back to summer.
Oh.
And a general timeline like just summer is kind of scary if you're hoping for the game. But yet all the other platforms will be coming out May 25th.
Makes you wonder what Nintendo's going to do to fill that gap now.
It does kind of put a pinch on them. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's a game that has an online element, and I wonder if that could be part of it.
Probably.
I don't think they've said.
Because summer does end in like September 20th, September 21st, right in that window.
Yeah. I find it can be much more general with when they say summer. That means sometimes other than past May, I guess.
Oh. So, okay. But when they say summer, they never release it in like October.
Hey, that Cord Gadget is coming in spring of this year, whenever that is.
It should be any time. I guess that would be up through May, I guess. I always think of the seasons referencing quarters, but I don't know that works. I think they overlap. I'm not sure. Basically, we don't know when it'll come out.
Yeah, they haven't said anything about either one of those. But I know that Dark Souls probably was one. Like I said, we've talked about Nintendo kind of resting on their laurels right now.
Yeah, that was one they were depending on.
That was one they probably would have liked to have had.
I remember Jason commented that that's the first title that had a major delay on the Switch in a while. But you said in a while. Have they delayed something else? Because I can't remember any. Except
I think like Morphe's Law was supposed to be out. Pocket Rumble was supposed to be out.
Yeah, there's a bunch of smaller ones that have been pushed. I'm trying to think of. We've gotten some. I know we've gotten some announcements of things that have been delayed, but like I don't know that we had hard dates on any of those to begin with.
No, some of them came out digitally before they came out physically.
Yeah, the Dark Souls. Do we even have a hard date? Was May set?
Yeah,
May 25th.
May 25th was it?
Okay,
like that.
So yeah,
a lot of the time, what Nintendo does is they give a launch window and don't give you an exact date until they're ready to drop it. So you know it's pushed back to the end of the window often, but.
Yeah, if they say spring, it's May 30th. If they say they say Christmas season, it's like December 15th.
Either way, it's an indication that something's going on with Switch that causes games not to be able to come out at the same time.
Online service.
Well, and part of it is
You'll-
probably Nintendo's certification process is slower, which we've heard from other devs. But also, it's just right. It's not quite an Xbox One. It is, as usual, it is
Yeah.
the weakest console of this generation.
Wolfenstein
It's close
was
to being on
playable.
par as it's been in a long time, though. But anyway, sorry. Wolfenstein was playable. What?
Was that at PAX East that they just had?
Oh yeah,
Where
they were
Wolfenstein was
showing the
playable.
footage. Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of the people there said it didn't seem like it was ready for prime time. Like they said it wasn't even as smooth as Doom. Still no
Really?
release date on that. Yeah,
Most of the
There's
reviews
still-
I saw, the hands-ons were that it was pretty good. It looked pretty nice. At least the video I saw looked smooth. and
IGN didn't
whatever.
like it,
Oh,
Really?
Okay.
but you know the developer still doesn't. I mean, Bethesda still hasn't set a date for it, and they said they're going to continue to work on it until they get it running at least as good as Doom runs.
Which people complained about how well Doom ran, so that doesn't bode well for Wolfenstein.
No, I don't. There weren't a lot of
little.
complaints about Doom other than legitimate bugs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but everyone pretty much said it should not run as well as it does on Switch.
Yeah, no. Doom was held up really as kind of the achievement. As look how well this does run on Switch, despite the bugs that people did bitch about. Which, yeah, again, that most recent patch fixed. Man, if that game were $20 right now in the drought, I would happily drop $20 on Doom for Switch. Even double dipping because I got the PC one. Because I'm dying to compare it. You know what I mean? Because I've played through most of the PC one, I'd really like to play through a chunk of the Switch one just to get get an idea of the feel and what am I missing if I'm buying a Switch version of something. You know what I mean?
Bethesda? No, you don't.
Well, even
No, they
though
don't, but
even though Doom ran well, all of the reviewers mentioned how it's downscaled a little bit. Like
yeah, sure it is.
Yeah,
That's what I mean. But that's what I want to like. I don't. To me, those numbers 30 versus 60. Oh, that irks me and that bothers me, and I don't want to play a 30 frames per second game. But you know what? I don't know that I've ever had the same game side by side on two different systems like that I could really legitimately compare.
That's
what I mean. I've got Doom on PC. I've got Doom on PC, and I can run it at max whatever and 60 frames a second. I would like to run it. I'd like to see it, and really see it, not because I can see a video online, but I'd like to really play the game on Switch and compare it. And so that way going forward, for example, Wolfenstein 2. I don't know. What am I missing if I buy the Switch version? I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe I should wait. Maybe I should get it super cheap on Steam instead, because it will be.
Yeah. I had no issues
but I'd like
with
to
Doom.
have Doom to compare. That's the thing, though.
No,
That's it, right? I like that.
At 30, I had no problem. Rocket League at 30, I don't like.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say.
Doom was fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the Rocket League when we had the 30, what do you call it? There's the performance mode and then
Here's the thing, though. You tried Rocket League at 30 frames a second after putting 600 hours in it.
Yeah, 60. Yeah, that's true.
Right. So that's that's like Doom. You only put in 20, 25 hours or something. Yeah.
That's a competitive game comparing it to just a console game that you're playing.
Right. Yeah.
Single
and
player.
I was
now,
playing Doom on easy as well.
If you were playing Doom on, multiplayer deathmatch, you might suddenly decide that 30 frames a second isn't cutting it. But I'm dying to pick that up cheap just so I can, because then I can know going forward, is it worth buying this game on Switch or should I get the PC version instead? Right. I'd really like to set my own personal mental gauge of what I'm willing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What I'm willing to accept and say, no, this doesn't bother me versus, okay, this is going to irk the crap out of me knowing that there's this much better version out there and I'm not getting it. Right.
I don't feel like it's gimped, but I think it's still going to be, do you want it portably or not?
Yeah. It's just like when I saw Snake Pass on the PS4, I saw footage of that and wow, it's gorgeous. It really is. It's amazing, and there's a little bit of me that's jealous, but not enough to care. Like I could have bought Snake Pass on Steam. Nah, I'd rather have that on the Switch, and it's worth it to me. And for that kind of game, it's fine. But we'll see. I'll see how Wolfenstein looks. I'll look at videos and then I'll go from there because I don't think I'm ever going to get Doom for $20 on Switch. I think by the time it gets to that point, the cartridges will dry up.
It'll
That's the
probably
other
settle
thing.
at 30. Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be the kind of volume that we saw with. We know there's not because it's memory cards and it's costing people more to make it. We're just not going to see the sweet deals on massive overstock like we used to see. We're going to see
also the shelf space as
stuff,
they keep making more stuff. Nintendo doesn't have a huge amount of shelf space. We've talked about that before too. Like
they also got
PlayStation and Xbox in stores. That's true. But like, I mean, it seems like Best Buy carries like maybe 20 games. Like,
yeah.
They don't have a huge section for Switch, and I think as more and more games come, there will be less and less shelf space for those older titles.
It's true.
Like Pikmin 3 disappeared for Wii U after 5 years. Till it became a select.
Probably when we get to that being an issue, or especially for more prominent Nintendo games, I think we'll start seeing the selects come out and reintroduce those older games. That's kind of the cycle they're on. So, speaking of older games,
hope so.
Speaking of older games, we got news this week from Sega, in fact, about Sega AGES coming to Switch. So, this is being done by M2, if you're familiar with their work. So, they've announced there's going to be 15 plus games coming to Switch. So far, we've only got 5 or 6 that have been confirmed. But they say if this is successful, they're going to continue to bring more, particularly Saturn and Dreamcast games. So,
that's what they said about the 3D Classics. And they ultimately released a 3D Classics Volume 1 for 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
There never was a Volume 2. So that tells you how well it did.
And I thought they were very successful. Or not very successful.
I think the individual games did okay.
Yeah.
I think they did all right,
M2,
which was why it warranted the cartridge. And M2 got a lot of acclaim. Yeah, they got a lot of acclaim for doing for the quality of those. And I guess they've done all the other ones too, or they've done most of the other versions on the different consoles of these Sega ports, apparently.
Right.
So they've done
nice.
them well. And then they're well done. But here's the thing is, like even more so, like Sega really is just whoring out their name at this point. I mean, you know what I mean? They're almost to the level of Atari where it's just here, we will resell you anything and everything any way we can.
Why doesn't Nintendo just buy them already?
Yeah, I know, but it's right. So I'm going to rattle off the platforms that I can think of off the top of my head that I have multiple copies of these Sega games on. I've got Steam, I've got the 3DS, I've got the PS3. Pretty sure I've got something for the Xbox or something. I've got
that's your phone.
There is your phone. These are free to download on your phone now. Are you aware of that? Yeah, like Golden Axe.
I think it's $1 if you want it without ads, maybe.
Yeah, or something. But it's just like I wish there was still some affinity for Sega games on Nintendo consoles now that there's no longer Sega consoles, but there's really not. Like there's
it ain't no Super Metroid, that's for sure.
Well, that too, and it's right. Here's the thing about the Genesis. The Genesis came along when when the original Nintendo was long in the tooth. Nintendo had sat back and tried to milk it way too long by that point. So they totally just left an opening for Sega to come in with a next generation system and own the market. But, and I'm sorry to say this for any Genesis fanboys out there, outside from a handful of exceptions that were mostly third party, the quality of the games on the Genesis just wasn't there. There was a lot of repetitive, like the same engine, like even those 3D classics and these M2 ports, like Thunderblade, Fantasy, Fantasy Zone, Afterburner, and like like half the games in the 3D Classics collection are the exact same engine with different graphics.
Yeah.
Like Thunderblade,
Gunstar Heroes is a winner.
Gunstar Heroes is unique. That's what I will give. That's what I will point out. You talked me into picking that one up, and I didn't realize I actually already had it on Steam.
Doesn't matter. You need a copy in every room of the house.
Yeah, and you know what? And the 3D version's cool. Don't get me wrong. I love these 3D Classics for that because I'm just a 3D sucker. But right, like Space Harrier, Thunderblade, like half of these games were the exact same game, just with different graphics.
Yeah.
And that was how those Genesis games like Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, and a bunch of others that I can't remember. The Altered Beast was a side screen. It probably shared the same engine with a bunch of other stuff too, but it was different.
I do kind of what I like about Altered Beast is very early on, Sega had like a kind of unique look before they kind of started. I mean, they always kind of did, but those games look completely different from any other 16-bit, like Altered Beast and I guess that's the main one that if you look at it, it just looks different.
I think it was just part of it was the way that the writing to that unique hardware versus Nintendo hardware. Or you know what, every console exclusive, because I've been looking back through this. Like I plugged in my old Jaguar recently, which I haven't plugged that thing in at least 15 years. And I finally got a new AV cable for it and whatever, because I used to have just the old RF. And their games all had Atari games had their own very distinctive look as well. Very, very 60s hippie, rainbowy, in a way that, you know what I mean? Just as distinct from the look of Nintendo games and the look of and the looks have evolved over the years. Nintendo games, right? Nintendo games have gotten more balloony and colorful over the years, but they you can see the evolution, and they started from the same kind of point. It's just as the technology has evolved, they've evolved with it. And Atari, the same thing, right? Even the Atari 2600, right? As distinct from some of the other games I had on my Intellivision or the ColecoVision or whatever, the Atari had those brightly colored asteroids and right.
That Pac-Man sure had its own look.
Yeah. Yeah, it had, but right. Everything in Atari was colorful because I think just because that was all they had was color.
I would love to have like because there was like a Castlevania Bloodlines that was exclusive to Genesis. There was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Hyperstone Heist, which I've never played, which will never get re-released.
There's a free-to-play Castlevania. I just saw a thing like today. Didn't just today a free-to-play Castlevania come out on the phone?
Was there?
I don't know.
Is Konami finally paying attention to that franchise again?
Yeah, but probably through a microtransaction heavy, crappy piece of shit phone game.
Yeah,
because that's Konami these days.
But I should mention, you all are rattling off all these great games and all your memories with this. None of these games are of the ones that have been announced.
No, I'm sure Gunstar Heroes will come, but you're going to get Sonic 1, 2, and 3. You're going to get Fantasy Zone, Space Harrier.
The ones that have been announced so far, just to run through them: Sonic the Hedgehog, the original, Phantasy Star, Thunder Force 4, Game Ground, and Alex Kidd in Miracle World. So
didn't it say possibly like Phantasy Star Online? I thought I had heard something about that possibly coming too.
That's what I understood. I don't know if that's too.
Well, I think no. Everywhere I've seen, that's like the first thing that the fanboy throws out as, does this mean, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, Sega did. They had a huge
everybody wants, but
press conference that this was all part of, because they're also doing like a little Genesis Mini. And they're doing,
which is the same AT Games, by the way, making that.
Yeah, it's the same crappy person, but now it's smaller and cute, just like the Nintendo one. So maybe you'll buy it this time.
Well,
and then they're also giving Shenmue.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Shenmue for everyone with Switch.
Shenmue 1 and 2 for every system but Switch.
Which again may, here's the thing, and we've talked about this, and now I've seen other sites picking up on it too, where it's a weird smattering off and on of, okay, here's a retro collection you're going to get, but then none of this, like, it seems like the majority just isn't being announced, and everyone's assuming it's tying in now with the launch of their online, and I think it should and it will. I think that's when I think that's when Netflix and everything you've been bitching about is coming. Like, I think the real launch of the Nintendo, right? Originally, the plan was we were going to launch the Nintendo Switch kind of early, 6-9 months, and then the real launch would be at Christmas. That's when the online service was going to come out and everything. And then all of a sudden, the online service gets pushed a year. So it's almost like the real launch of the Switch got pushed a year. You know?
Yeah.
We're still lacking all these things that we're supposed to be, not just the online, right? A million things that were supposed to be coming within a few months and still aren't here.
Yeah. And the real pain in my ass about the whole Sega Ages thing is more that, like you said, that collection of Sega games that has like 40 games or something is coming to everything but Switch. But then on Switch, they're going to sell us these games individually.
Yeah.
So it'll be less games for more money
a piece. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just noticed.
None of these have price points, by the way, I should add.
I just noticed Ages is Sega spelled backwards. Did anyone else notice that?
That didn't
You just blew my mind.
Very, very, very sharp, dude. I'd never even dawned on me.
But they've done Sega Ages collections before for other consoles over the years. It's just
and random point of note, I'll bring up on Steam, like right on Steam, it's just you download the Sega Ages client, or what there's the Sega and Mega Drive Classics Collection client on Steam. And that's just a free download, and then it's individual cost to buy the individual games for it. And because they're such a small little thing, Sega kind of throws a random game out here and there just as a freebie for some kind of promotion, like every so often, right? So it's not like I've collected a dozen games for the Steam one, just either for free or as part of a dollar bundle. So that makes it even harder to pay individually on the Switch for them.
Yeah. Well, they know their audience. Switch people love overpaying for really old crap.
Well, as far as Nintendo's concerned, we do.
Yeah.
All right. Getting back to talking about Nintendo, and it's a pretty big deal. It's come out recently, sort of confirming that we are getting a new Pokemon for Switch. There's been sort of confirming. Both sources are sort of unknown. There's two different sources. The first one is an official Nintendo magazine that's in Spanish, and it says there will be new mechanics and Generation 8, and it'll be released.
8 is going to be Switch,
2018 or later. We kind of guessed at that. They've never had a game launch that's a sequel or a remake, so on new hardware. So most likely it will be Generation 8. But then we've got this other person called Pixelpar, who is supposedly an industry insider. He's been providing information lately. Shout out to Max for pointing this out, by the way. Release date, November or December, and they've been localizing it since February, is the kind of the information that he was sharing, or she. And the code name is Project Beluga. So, what do you guys think?
Incoming.
I don't know. To me, it still seems very rumorish. Both these sources seem a little soft. I mean, it's plausible. It's what the people have been theorizing for a while and hoping for. But
if it weren't, but as you're saying, if it weren't plausible,
unfortunately, Barry, this is the best we can ever do in Nintendo world because their lips are sealed always.
Yeah,
that's right. And of course, everybody thinks that E3 we will get all this information confirmed, but who knows?
Yeah,
it's got to be some E3.
I mean, if they do release that,
Animal Crossing, Smash.
If they do release that on Switch, that might push them up to the 20 million. If every single Pokemon fan, most Pokemon fans already have a Switch, though, don't they?
I don't know.
It depends on how
I would doubt it. I would doubt it. I would bet. I would bet there's a lot of hardcore, that are.
They're still grinding on Ultra Sun and Moon.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
there's kids, right? There's a lot of kids, of course, still.
Yeah.
There's a lot of adults that just don't see the value in plunking down $300 on a new console if their game isn't on it.
That's true. I feel the same way about Animal Crossing. Like there's people who will wait until Animal Crossing comes out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for every major Nintendo franchise, there are the people that are waiting
Yeah.
for that.
Just like there were people probably who said no Mario, no dice. I'll wait
Yeah.
till Odyssey comes out.
Right.
Yeah, they knew with Mario and Zelda that they covered the majority, but then there's people that are waiting for Prime. There's people that were waiting for Splatoon. Some of us were waiting for Splatoon. Right?
And
There was nobody waiting for ARMS. Certain people were waiting for Mario Kart.
The people who were waiting for Animal Crossing on Wii U just totally got skipped over, except for that awesome game, Amiibo Festival.
Right.
Anybody that was suckered into buying a Wii U because they thought that was the new Animal Crossing game has every right to, show up at Nintendo headquarters and demand, money and restitution.
They even had an Animal Crossing Plaza thing for a while on Wii U.
Yeah.
That for free.
That was
yeah.
to tease them. Yeah.
And the animals look great there. I mean, the 3D models and everything, they looked really nice.
Yeah, everyone thought, oh, this is the precursor to like a real Animal Crossing game, and no, meh. You can
New and exciting way to post Amiiverse.
messages. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But
I mean,
if they do release, go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say there's not been any kind of confirmation or hints at this, but Pokemon, they said they were developing the Switch version alongside the 3DS version when they released Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So it makes you wonder
Did they
if
actually say that?
Yeah. They were working on both of them at the same time, and they decided that there was a better install base with the 3DS, and that would be the better system to launch it on. Yeah. That was confirmed.
So then this is in the pipe. They're just sitting on it.
Yeah.
This is basically built and ready to go, and they'll probably put a fresh coat of varnish on it before they actually release it, maybe do some minor changes and updates, but the game is basically built then.
Well, the only thing is building it from Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon to Generation 8.
Well, sure, but it's the same core, right? That means the engine is built.
The bones is already there. They just need to store it.
One of the insiders, somebody said that what was being worked on was localization. I mean, that means most of it's there if they're just working on localizing and polishing.
But again, that's rumor mill. We're speculating, but all right, it sounds like it's probably going to be sooner rather than later. And if that's their 1-2 punch for this year, Pokemon and Smash Brothers, like it doesn't the demographics don't get much different for those two, right?
No,
it's pretty
I would
wide.
think.
Yeah.
That covers two pretty broad, separate groups of people, I would imagine.
But does it have mass appeal outside of gamers?
Maybe not.
No.
Wait, maybe not. But there is a chunk of people, however many, that are waiting for that Pokemon game, and there's a chunk of people nowhere near as big, but still a chunk of people waiting for Smash.
Yeah. Unless you're on the internet, then everybody's waiting for Smash.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
in Nintendo communities, everyone is waiting for Smash.
Yeah.
I mean, and Smash, if you have even a passing interest in fighting games and even a passing interest in any Nintendo franchise, it's hard not to have
Smash definitely has the best hype train in the business.
Yeah.
Like I even got sucked into it on 3DS and Wii U, and I hated Smash. So
you know what? I kind of agree. I didn't hate it, but I similarly was sucked in on both for I don't know why. I played a lot on for no real reason. I did play I think I put in surprisingly 30 hours into it on 3DS.
And they had the amiibo thing. It was a whole package. That hype train was the best packaged thing ever.
It was genius. Yeah, that was you're right. That was the amiibo launch. That was everything. They could yet they still failed to move. That's when they knew the Wii U was dead. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say you're just kind of selling my point for Smash is not coming this year, I don't think, because there's not been near enough hype. You know, they've got to drag
Didn't they
this
say
thing
it
out
was coming
forever.
this
Yeah,
year?
didn't they?
I thought
Maybe
that
they
thing
did.
said it was coming this year.
Yeah, it's coming this year.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's got to get delayed. It's not Smash Brothers if it's not delayed.
Oh well, fair enough. But
Sneaky.
I think I see this as a port. You know,
It might be. Now, if it's a port, yeah.
It's a port in the same
yeah.
way that Splatoon's a port. Like
Oh.
it might be a newish game, but it's gonna have the same core guts because it's gonna have to. I mean, right? Because remember, it took them years. They built that crap from scratch, and they were originally they were going to try to make it a unified platform between 3DS and Wii U, and then they couldn't pull that off, and yada yada. I mean, you know what I mean? There's not going to be a project anywhere near that kind of scope. I'm certain it's going to be pulling the assets from the existing one, dropping them into whatever the new engine is for the new environment on Switch, and then translating most of it over. Like there'll be tweaks here and there, but it's not going to be a starting from scratch the way it seemed the last, the 3DS and Wii U one was.
Does anyone else think it's weird that Nintendo hasn't had a comment either way? Like they won't confirm yes it's a port or no. I mean, they have to know everybody's,
Yeah.
kind of speculating on that right now.
They just like the buzz, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's Nintendo.
probably what it
it's
is.
always less is more, right?
Yeah.
The less you say, the more people talk about.
But you're gonna have. I mean, if they come out and say it's a port, you're gonna have a bunch of people pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would be pissed off if it was a new one.
Well, here's the thing: people are gonna be pissed off no matter when they say it.
Yeah.
So they just gotta announce it. They'll announce it on their schedule when they think they can squeeze it. They'll announce it the day before they announce Pokemon. That's what they'll do. Right? That's how they do it.
Right before E3, they'll have a mini direct and be like, "Oh, and by the way, Smash is a port."
Yeah, exactly. and then yeah, like the next day E3 will start, and hey, look we got the new Pokemon game coming out, and play with some cardboard.
They gotta let us down easy. I don't really care if I fully expect it to be a port. I don't care if it is or not.
I'll still buy it because as much as it irks me, and I did double dip on cart, but
maybe Funky Kong will be in it.
There's a couple basic things that I have to have for any sort of social situation. Not that I'm in it often, but yeah, it's like in my Nintendo Toolkit, and I've now upgraded my Nintendo Toolkit to the Switch, and so there's a few key tools that I need to upgrade as well. I have to have Smash, I have to have Cart, otherwise all the kids at Thanksgiving are like, why don't you have Smash?
Yep, you gotta have Mario, and you gotta have Zelda just to show them.
Well, those I had to buy to play for myself anyway.
Yeah.
But it's the multiplayer. It's those multiplayer ones that are just like there's nothing. None of the smaller ones have I double dipped on. I haven't really found a sweet. There's a lot of those, couch multiplayer indie titles that are very popular. I haven't really, jumped on any of them yet. Although Overcooked is one I would potentially like pick up on the next console. That one's just a crowd pleaser.
Although the way this year's going, E3 might just Mario Party online to launch the online service. First time ever, Mario Party's going online.
I need a persistent online world. I need something social. I need, Miiverse was close, but not quite. I need something that at any time, day or night, I can log in and there's activity.
You should check out Twitter.
No, but I understand that, but Twitter's too much, right? Again, the reason we like Miiverse was it was kind of like a mini Twitter specifically.
It's a closed environment.
And it's a closed environment for just the pocket of what you want to talk about, right? It's like you go to specific message boards for specific things. And that's kind of what I want. But again, I'd prefer it to be a persistent online 3D world that I can roam around in and do some kind of crafting or questing in. But there needs to be something like, some sort of persistent Nintendo Land and or some sort of social hub as part of their paid online service. There needs to
Can
be.
you have a persistent online world without cloud saves?
Well, no, but that's what we're talking about. Is it's got to come along with our $20 a year
Yeah.
online service, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy, and it doesn't have to be anything very involved. Just some
it won't
basic
be.
social, just a basic social hub. I
I
mean,
think
again, it can be like Meverse too. That's all, but not even as in depth as that. Go ahead, Jason.
I think what you're asking for is an open world Mitomo. That's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Uh,
I know what you're meaning. But
kind of. I mean,
A metopia, if you will.
yeah, but right.
there we go.
It in whatever form it takes. Ideally, I would prefer, like, I'm thinking of something like WoW, where
Right. Yeah.
if I didn't want to go out and do questing, if I didn't want to go fight monsters or go into a dungeon with a bunch of people for 3 hours, I could still just hang out in the city, and there was still a ton of random side quest stuff and little crafting things, and you could go to the auction house and buy and sell stuff. You know what I mean? There was still a variety of game related activities, and of course tons of people bumming around, selling stuff back and forth, and social interaction. You know what I mean? There was something compelling about it, and maybe unhealthily compelling about it, but it was right. It was kind of like it was a social environment. It was like hanging out with people. There were people you knew online, and then there'd be lots of people that you didn't know, but you recognized because you'd been playing on the same server with them for months, right? Familiar strangers,
Yeah.
people whose names you'd recognize. Oh, I know that guy. I saw him. I rode by him when he was killing an orc the other day or something. I recognize him. Just that kind of community where you feel like you're connected to a social environment.
You want
And
World of Warcraft.
but you know what? Again, I don't care what form it takes. I want World of Warcraft, but I would settle for Miiverse, right?
Yeah.
Just something. I need some sort of Nintendo centric social hub, and it doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be that involved. But the more, the better. Again, if it were something like Nintendo Land meets World of Warcraft, that would be my dream scenario. But again, something just kind of basic like Miiverse, or not even like Miiverse, something that was more gaming stat focused, right? Again, our friend list is friggin' barren,
Yeah. Well,
right?
people have
There's
been
no
saying they want
information.
achievements as well.
Yeah. Achievements would help. Something that builds it makes it feel like a social community. People have achievements. What's the point of having achievements unless you have friends to see your achievements, right?
Maybe
Like,
when
so
my
there's,
friends look on my list and they see Mario Odyssey, there should be a little star after it that shows that I 100%ed it.
for example,
Yeah.
for just at the most basic level, absolutely, I
Yeah.
100% agree. But right, it's the interface on the Switch is barren, and it's completely barren of any sort of social features whatsoever. And just the longer it goes like that, the more I'm like, okay, guys, I'm getting pissed, and I am expecting Pokemon MMO in 6 months, or I'm going to be
I
beating
think
down
it's
your
like
door.
they still want you to only play with your real in life friends,
Yeah.
and you find them on Twitter, Facebook. That's why they added that
But
feature.
even then, right? We as grown adults, and this can't be just a North American thing that Japanese people don't get. Like, I don't see my real life friends but once every 3 months anyway, or something. Like, you know what I mean? We have kids. I don't. My buddy lives 20 minutes away, but I literally I see him once every 2 or 3 months, just at most. It's just that's the way the world is these days. Everybody's busy, everybody's got their own lives, and we're all insular in our little houses with Netflix and everything else, though not on our Switches. So right, it's much harder, and maybe Nintendo's trying to encourage you to engage in that kind of social interaction, but it'll happen when it happens, guys. Otherwise, give me the option to play Mario Party with you guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There should be more social interaction on the Switch, but I, for one, don't like trophies or a trophy system just because it makes me feel inadequate.
You won't have any.
That's your fault, though.
That just adds no value to the game to me. Leaderboards like that, I mean, or achievements, unless it's unlocking something or just to have it for the sake
You
of
don't want a little feather in your hat that says that you've collected all the clothes in Splatoon 2?
Yeah, you don't want, like, they've always done that, like but it was never a social thing. Like if you got 5 stars on whatever Super Mario game, right?
right.
Or the
Yeah.
5 glittering stars if you got the super bonus or whatever.
Or in Splatoon 1, you got the little captain hat when you hit level 50, you know.
Yeah, there's
I
those
guess I'm
kinds of
saying
things, right? And so it falls into that. I understand what you're saying. It's kind of like bragging or whatever. But at the same time, just something simple like Mo's saying, a little star next to your Super Mario Odyssey if you've completed it, or a little glowing star if you've gotten, 1,000 whatever, right? Little simple things like that, I think would be nice. I mean, again, just because those are components of it, but I'm still more on the side of having an actual social environment.
Yeah, I've been thinking for a while now. I'd be happy with Miiverse 2.0 or whatever if they've just brought that back, revamped for the Switch. But I don't think it'll happen.
No.
Nope.
No, they're pushing this Twitter and Facebook integration way too hard.
Yeah.
Going back to something like Miiverse is going to be, or even Miitomo, I think, is going to be a step back.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but
Well, if it's more gaming centric like Nintendo Land, maybe they could do that, but we'll see. It's something.
Hopefully something. Yeah.
All in that online service, and there's a million things we're waiting for.
Yep. It's a scary time to be pinning all of our hopes on something that's barely known anything about.
Yeah.
All right, but moving on. We've been talking about Netflix multiple times not being on Switch just tonight, but we did have a sort of interesting nod here. The MLB TV app, which is not on Switch, but when you go into report something or talk to support, there is an option to say that you're using a Switch. So maybe that's something else in the works. And that kind of falls into that media streaming app that we think may be coming to Switch.
Well, and between that and it was Funimation was the other one. Like, these are individual channels. These aren't like big movie houses like Netflix and Hulu and like the ones that are on every console. These are like the ones that are on the Rokus and the Amazon Fire Sticks, which Nintendo's just never had, which again is still just a big surprise to me and really shouldn't be, because it's friggin' they've, like, for the last 2 console generations they've been behind on this, but it's just great to finally see them going from 4 streaming media apps to what, obviously, if MLB.com and Funimation, that means there's going to be dozens.
Hope so.
Yeah, we'll see.
But this, to me, it reminds me of the TV app they had on the Wii U, which I tried to use a few times, and it was really awkward and difficult and didn't do much.
Well, this would be like an actual subscription where you pay a certain money to watch every game from some baseball team.
Yeah. I have a buddy who was really into baseball, an old coworker, and had a subscription to the MLB site, and it's like they would have just all sorts of interesting things that you could do. Like, they would have highlight ones where it would cut out all of the waiting in between each pitch. And so it would condense the game down to like 20 or 30 minutes or something like that. And then they had various, like, you could set it up so that you could stream all home games in a certain, in a row, or all the home and away games in a certain row, and all sorts of funky, neat controls for sports fans, baseball fans. Additional, stat stuff and whatever. So I assuming all that kind of stuff translates down to the Switch version. I haven't seen it on other consoles, but it's, you know what I mean? It's at least, and this was 10 years ago, this guy was showing it to me. But it was at that point, it was already had more weird little features like that than your average media streaming app. So we'll see. But I again, I assume this is just going to be the same, like it's an open format, right? It's every channel is going to be writing their app for it, just like a Roku or a Fire Stick or really the other consoles at this point,
Yeah,
right?
we might get
Microsoft
HBO
and
or
Sony
something like
have a
that.
bunch of these.
Ooh.
Yeah, like Microsoft and Sony have the HBO app and the Showtime app and well, we had the Amazon already, but right, they had all of those, and plus they have the oddball CNNs and the FX channel app and whatever. So we'll get all those now. It'll be great. And the other cool thing that's unique is suddenly it'll be a tablet. That's a unique feature to Nintendo. Like, to me, that's a selling point. I don't have a good tablet. I just have my phone. So I don't watch movies on my phone. It's not big enough. But now all of a sudden I've got a tablet just big enough that I will totally use it for all this media streaming stuff. I assume you will too, Mo.
While I poop.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or like a lot of times what I did with the Wii U is if I was gonna, I'd play games and then I'd get hungry and I'd put on Netflix and watch something while I was cooking, and then once I get into the next room, I can put it up on the TV. It's nice to have to just be able to watch uninterrupted like a zombie.
Yeah. What were we gonna say, Jason?
Just going to kind of tap into what Barry said. It's got me thinking. I'm wondering what type of weird Nintendo twist will this have. I don't think it'll be, just. I mean, maybe it will be just a set of media apps within a program, but Nintendo's got to do something. Add their little secret sauce to it. And I just wonder what that will be.
I really kind of hope that you have to basically walk through a virtual version of the Pink Rabbit arcade and walk up to each individual streaming media app. That'll get really annoying after like the first week or two, but at first it'd be really cool. And that Pink Rabbit, I just keep getting screwed by the
I think they'll just drop them. I mean, I think they'll just put them on and they'll just be menu icons, unorganized.
So there's not going to be a Nintendo twist on it.
I hope so, but I'm leaning more towards not.
There's been no Nintendo twists on Switch. I mean, everything's been very straightforward. Here's the stuff. It's just dropped in here and nothing
just clean and basic.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's true.
I guess that's going back to hoping that they're going to update the UI and things like that, which they don't seem to be interested in doing so, but maybe it'll come.
I here's the thing. I think that stuff will come. At some point, they're going to let their hair down and say, okay, let's get crazy with the Switch. And Labo isn't quite it. Labo's something out in left field. But I mean, you know what I mean? At some point, they're gonna kind of open it up and say, okay, now we're going to have themes. Right. Now we'll let you make folders. And I feel like a lot of this is all they want to make it big with their online thing. And I really feel like all of this stuff is going to roll out with the launch of the online service. Because you're going to need folders for media. Like all of a sudden, if you're going to have a bunch of media apps, you're going to need folders. So they're going to give them to us. I'm convinced. I really think a lot of these features and functionality are going to roll out with it. I really do.
I wonder if it'll just be, like a new home screen where you touch a button and it'll switch to a different home screen. It's like, okay, here's all the media. This is the media home screen.
That works.
Something like that.
I wouldn't mind that. That works.
Would be cool. But anyway,
we thought they were going to give us folders and menus in on Christmas, but
yeah, I really thought they were.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to pretty it up for everybody, and then nope. So
I mean,
who knows?
Again, it's been out now over a year, and it's like some of us have a lot of crap. Like half of the games I've got are not shown on my home screen. I have to go hunt them down. Oh, if I haven't played Snake Pass in a while and I want to go finish those last couple levels, I got to go digging for it. I have to, you know what I mean? It's not just. I
just realized something the other day wasn't on my main menu. I can't remember if it was Sonic Mania or something. And I was like, oh, that's scrolled off the screen.
Yeah. Wait, how do you get it then?
Yeah, there's a more.
Oh,
there's an option to show all the icons.
Okay.
Even I have had to hunt things like the ARMS Global Test Punch.
Well, that's nothing you would miss, though.
I had looked forward until that one time, so
Or Nico.
that's right. Probably should just delete that, but anyway. So moving on, kind of a little thing we want to mention here is Nintendo did win some BAFTA awards. Odyssey got an award for game design and a family award. It's cool. Breath of the Wild got the innovation award. So congratulations to them, but
No game of the year.
no game of the year, surprisingly.
Who got
What's
game of the year?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Who
think
got the
Edith
game?
Finch, I believe.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, really?
I've never heard of it.
It's because it's not on Switch, not yet.
Not yet.
What's
I think
BAFTA?
It's like in
It's
the
like a-
Academy Awards when some oddball art film wins Best Picture and everyone's
Yeah.
like,
It was up for a bunch of those game awards too. I think it's one of those. It's like a point and click thing that you watch more than you play, I think, but it's got a really
I'd
good
probably
story.
like it then. What's BAFTA again?
British American or what? Wait, not
French?
American. British Arts and Film Television something.
Oh.
well, there
Basically
you
like
go.
their
That's-
Oscars.
See, that's why, and that's the thing. And I was thinking about this the other day, and it's right. There's so many games that are the same basic game. Like Mass
Mhm.
Effect is the same engine as a million other games. Nobody really cares. Nobody, right? If anybody ever talks about Mass Effect, you never hear them talking about the gameplay, or rarely. I guess there
It's
were a
always the
few.
ending.
There were a few mechanics that were kind of unique to the first one, but for the most part, right, it's just you're playing through a story. And to
Yeah.
me, like there's like this thing like Edith Finch, and like okay, it's got a spectacular story, great, but if it's just kind of a generic point and click game, why do I give a fuck? Why can't I just watch a movie? Like, right, that's something. Okay, that's what Twitch is for. Then is I'll watch that because that to me is
Mhm.
not worth playing. And don't get me wrong, there's some of these games I'm sure have spectacular stories and they're amazing, but it's just like was a game really the best medium for this, or is it just kind of what you picked because it's otherwise you're just playing through a story. And it's
By the way, it bothered me enough. It's British Academy of Film and Television Arts.
okay.
What it's become
yeah.
is if your story is too long for a movie and nobody's going to read a novel anymore, so they put it in a game.
It's a Netflix miniseries.
Yeah.
But
Or if it's really bad on sci-fi.
or it's an anime series. Yeah.
Sorry.
If it's not good enough for Netflix, it's Hulu, and if it's not good enough,
Or
for
the
Hulu,
people who
it's
thought of the story aren't involved in the film and TV or book worlds, and they make games, and they said this is a cool
Yeah.
game, but how can we tell this story in a game?
yeah, no, and I get it. I mean, I get the various reasons that these
Yeah.
things come into existence, but and there are
Just
people.
like, I think Night in the
sure.
Woods is like that. Oxenfree's a little bit like that.
And this is why, but again, this is why Game of the Year is from the Film and Television Awards.
Yeah.
Because it's this kind of game that they would hold more highly than something that has spectacular mechanics and right.
What you're basically getting at is saying this game won Game of the Year based solely on story and none of the other gameplay mechanics.
Not solely
Yeah, that could be.
necessarily.
I think it's weird that they gave Odyssey like the innovation award. I thought Breath of the Wild was a lot more innovative than
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild got innovation. Odyssey got
design.
design.
Family. That's right.
Family and game design.
And game design, which I would
Game
think
design, yeah.
design and innovation would is probably what you're saying would go to the Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, the game design on that is amazing. It's like everywhere you go, there's a little something that you didn't even realize that they wanted you to find, but it was there.
And on the flip side, I don't know what they did that was particularly innovative in that game. It had the Nintendo magic, but that style of open world game is not really a new thing,
I think just the fact that there's something everywhere and you always feel like you've gone way off the beaten path and gotten lost, and then there's something there. Like that to me was the magic of it.
Well, and that I guess you're right. And it depends on what you consider game design. If you just consider building the most compelling online amusement park or virtual amusement park that's themed around like, you know, a natural setting, then that's spectacular game design. Yes. But I
I
mean,
found the amount of detail they put into things like the cooking system and the variety of animals, that added a lot to the game, and they're not elements that you usually see in that type of game, especially to that degree.
Good point.
Yeah.
oh well, see, I disagree. See, that's the thing is I think in a lot of those kind of open world games, the crafting system ends up bogging you down because it's so overly complicated and there's just too much. Whereas Nintendo, to me, what Breath of the Wild did better than anything else, and this is the same kind of way the iPhone nailed the smartphone market, even though other smartphones had been out before it, is it perfectly distilled the genre down to all of its best elements, and just
with
enough of
breakable
it,
weapons.
except for that.
Mm.
But the cooking,
Yeah, they
the
just had to
cooking
Nintendo
system,
it somehow.
they had to. Yeah, they had to. Ugh, I know. It seems like every game has to have some new core annoying mechanic, like the Metroid. But like the cooking system, to me, like having done this kind of crafting in a lot of other games and WoW and whatever else, like the cooking system to me was simpler than most games, but just complex enough, right? And you could still mix and match and come up with weird, interesting combinations and little, but right in a Nintendo kind of way. If you mix this and mix that, you might get some magic bonus item or something, right? It was just all the mechanics still worked out in the very Nintendo fashion, but it was just enough cooking and crafting without it being overburdening and annoying where you feel like you're having to grind too much just to get this or that. And sure, maybe a little bit for the top level things, but you know, just a masterwork at making grinding not feel like grinding in that game. You know.
Yeah.
All right.
But the real interesting point, as we were going to get to, is during the BAFTA Awards after the show, that BBC did an interview with Shinya Takahashi, and he says they're already doing research and development on the next hardware system. And there will be and the quote is, a new system sometime in the future.
All right. 5 years.
Surprise! Oh,
We've
wait.
already had.
Yeah.
This
They always are working
Yeah.
on the next. They
Yeah.
said in the past they're always working on the next console when this console launches.
Well, that's
And-
yeah, that's true. But they
And the
did
next
say
console almost certainly is just going to be an incremental update to this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
The
point.
next console
Possibly.
is almost certainly going to
Yeah,
be.
I'm sure they've been working on
Yeah.
this since before the Switch launched. You know, they're always
Yeah.
looking to see.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a whole new console. It's just a.
Oh, you know what it could
upgrade.
be? It could be just they
New
enabled
virtual reality. Oh.
they enable the feature to make it DS, right? We saw that. We all saw that patent, the
double
multi-screen patent.
So we're going to jump
Yep.
to that now.
Yeah.
Well, not just because we're talking about the future of
Yeah.
the Switch.
What else can we say? It's no surprise that they were working on something. They're always working on something. They probably got
Yeah.
other handhelds in the pipeline just in case Switch finally tanks at some point.
That's
Yeah.
true.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah, some proto successor to the 3DS that will never see the light of day is probably on a drawing board somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only point there was this is nothing new. Nintendo is always doing this, so it's been in the news a lot. And I know if maybe
Yeah.
you don't follow that certain area, it's normal. Nothing.
If there's
is
one thing
going on.
Nintendo is good for, it's given slow news weeks. So something like this gets picked up as, guess what? Nintendo has a research and development department, and they are working this week.
And on on that subject, I'm pretty sure at least Sony, if not both Sony and Microsoft, have previously announced that yes, they have whatever future console on the drawing board as well. That's
Yeah.
pretty standard for the industry.
Hey, guess what? Ford's working on next year's model already.
Mind blowing. All right, well, moving on. So we mentioned this earlier in the podcast, and did mention at the very beginning, Switch and Scrum Ventures. So basically, Nintendo is partnering up with Scrum Ventures, and this is the quote that they said, which was what I read in the beginning, to seek technologies that expand the scope of Nintendo Switch and gaming beyond. So they're basically contacting companies and universities and asking for startups, looking for new tools to add to add to the platform, things like components, sensors, chips, different things. So they're going to show this, they're going to start development on it, or whatever, show it to Nintendo, and if Nintendo is on board with it, then they're going to help bring it to the market. So kind of an interesting thing. I don't remember Nintendo ever doing this before.
Can I start by commenting on the word Scrum and how it seems to kind of exist right between the words chum and scrotum? And it just is a pretty nasty sounding word in general.
To me, this sounds a lot like them saying, anybody else got any ideas?
But you know what it sounds like to me a little bit is when they announced their partnership with DENA. And hey, this partner is going to help us develop our online games.
Well, I remember not too long ago, Nintendo was saying that they were looking to hire employees that weren't necessarily game designers.
Oh, yeah.
So that they could get fresh ideas, and it's like that seems like more of this. Apparently, everybody's out of fresh ideas at Nintendo, so they're willing to look around and see if anybody else has any ideas.
They're really going hard on this blue ocean thing, right? It's like they know they've got a hit with the Switch, but they need and I'm all for it. Their focus is what is the next big thing, and not just what is the next big video game console. What is the next big technological gadgetry that people are going to want, and how can our ecosystem surrounding the Switch plug into it? I think is kind of what they're, the way they're looking at it. It's almost like this the way this company, the Scrum Ventures, it sounds like a think tank, basically, right? A technological development think tank.
Yeah, it's been over a year, and we still don't even have the little TV screen mount for the Switch to go in your car.
That's true.
Yeah, that they showed in that original. Yeah.
But I mean, how many things can you really do with a tablet that haven't already been done with a tablet?
Also, you get a little MRI sensor that you can plug into it, and it'll display the image on the screen, and you can scan your leg to see what's wrong with your knee.
I wouldn't mind that.
Well, see, and that's the thing. We do know Nintendo has a little bit of a history with working their products into medical facilities.
Yeah.
The heartbeats.
Right. I could totally see Switch tablets ending up as screens on one of those things that you carry around with you that has bags hanging on it. I have no idea what those are called. But those little, I could see the Switch becoming a medical screen on medical equipment if it contains the proper technology to do something.
As long as the surgery isn't longer than 3 hours.
Well, it would be plugged in, and whatever. But
and isn't in an aquarium or near a fence.
I think I think the primary development that we will see surrounding this will be coming out of the Joy-Cons, or completely new Bluetooth devices that connect to the Switch wirelessly, or even via USB.
Yeah, that's what I want to see is more accessories that aren't necessarily, you don't have to put the Joy-Con into. There's just something else that connects to the Switch.
Yeah, something like that. We've seen the self-walking legs patents and all sorts of weird patents that have come out in Nintendo.
We don't even have a flight stick or a steering wheel and pedals yet.
True. We will on Friday if you make them yourself, right?
Yeah, I can't wait to step on cardboard.
I'm sure that's going to last, yeah.
Not to get too excited about these new ideas that are possibly coming, because they're not going to start pitching these until fall, so it's going to be very much a future venture before any of these come to market, or we would probably hear anything about them.
It'll probably be for the next iteration of the Switch.
Probably. That's probably what they're looking for.
But I'm hoping it's going to be like that weird fishing reel thing they released for the 3DS in Japan.
That would be
in Labo.
So you can fish for Pokemon in augmented reality in the air. It's the most bizarre thing ever. I so want that to get localized over here. I would so buy it.
Yeah, I still think we might see, a Switch camera or something else in the future that just either Bluetooths in or hooks in physically to the USB. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they can just physically port in or USB.
For something like just a camera, it would seem like there's probably already a standard they could plug into. But if it were something like a camera with self-walking legs, right?
The
The
Nintendo
camera with
GoPro.
some other weird Nintendo addition to it. Then all of a sudden it's a Nintendo unique thing, and they would sell it. But just a camera, it wouldn't. I would see like, and I wouldn't put it past them to open it up like for different things. Like all of a sudden, there's a variety of third-party cameras that are, now Bluetooth capable to your Switch or
Compatible,
whatever.
yeah.
Nintendo
Switch Fit Meter.
Yeah, and I think they'll eventually give in on headsets and do that as well. But right, I do see, yes, a fit meter potentially. I see there's a lot of possibilities with it, and they know they have a hit, so they're gonna get ballsy and they're gonna try some of it, right? We're gonna see stuff like Power Gloves and Virtual Boys and I'm looking forward to it again, like the weird shit that came out with the Wii.
Talking about things like Labo, I think we're going to see more things like that.
Yeah, true.
Right, but
Labo though just doesn't. I want better stuff than Labo.
Yeah, I think
maybe you'll have a cardboard scale.
Yeah, cardboard. Huh? I want plastic.
I'd be very happy with plastic. Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about new patents, and there was a new patent which he has already alluded to. So basically, the main idea of this patent is a plurality of information processing apparatuses that are capable of communicating with each other.
Layman's terms, please. Oh.
If that makes no sense to you, then congratulations, you're like the rest of us. It's basically two screens and things moving seamlessly between the two screens, shared information.
Oh, the Wii U.
Gaming.
Two or more. They didn't cap it at two. They said
that's true.
Yeah, it could be any number. They actually talked about how each one would be programmed to tag into the sort of network, so it didn't have an upward cap because you didn't have one that had to serve information to all of them.
Well, they'll do anything to keep us from playing on the TV. But I thought I immediately thought, like, wouldn't it be cool if it was like, a cheap, although I don't know how cheap they can make a second screen, but like, I really enjoyed playing Pikmin 3 using the gamepad control. Like, although I guess you could just do that off TV, but
I wish, I so wish that was going to be the case.
If it could just be a second screen that you could, in Zelda, you could, especially if they did something like where they made it backwards compatible, where like in Breath of the Wild, you could access your inventory or something, or map.
Yeah, but you couldn't even do that on the Wii U. So I don't see it.
Well, because they didn't build the functionality in,
Yeah, but that's
just
what
like
I
with
mean.
Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, thinking back on the Wii U, there's so many limited cases for it that it's just probably not. To
me, I just thought, like, they're like, ooh, the Switch is actually successful. Let's try to get this second screen gaming thing back in. Try to shoehorn this back in somehow.
No, and it crossed my mind, man. I wanted to believe it for a while, but I've now decided that no, they're never going to try that again.
What if it's a second screen that your Joy-Con can connect to, so it looks like you're playing with a Switch, even when your Switch is docked?
It would make me play Splatoon again, though. I mean, like, not that I have quit Splatoon, but I mean, it would motivate me more to play Splatoon some more again if they did have a second screen. Well, I'd have to have two Switches, but you know what I mean. That's the only game I would really want.
Or just a second screen. They could add the Ink Strike back in.
Mm-hmm.
Only for users who have the second screen.
People would actually use your beacons like they used to. I mean, people do, but not like they used to. You know what I mean?
No,
people
I only
would
use them when I'm dead. and I'm like, oh, hey, there's a beacon there.
And honestly, I try not to use them because I just wasted it. If you know what I mean? I feel like somebody dropped that there, and if I use it, then I'm
stealing his beacon. Yeah, sometimes I think that the person who put it down for themselves because that's where they want to jump to. And
right, because
I guess that's what they're there for.
Builds that make sense, right? Because there's certain. It just depends, but certain weapons, right? There's a certain spot you want to be.
Well, in like Walleye Warehouse, it's good to drop them in that little catwalk area.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're kind of away from the thing, but you're still in safety.
Were you about to say something, Jason?
Clamblitz is the beacon center thing. I can't get anybody to jump to my beacons.
Yeah.
I use the Octobrush Nuevo a lot. I drop beacons back behind enemy lines, behind the basket, you know. It's like, oh yeah, they've got a football, and it's like this way, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, you're going to swim straight into them.
If you just jump to that beacon, you could have thrown the football right in there.
That's right. I try to set them
Yeah.
up, but people don't look and use them as they did in the previous game, which is a
It
shame.
was like, I don't know if they've got any big plans for this, but I think of second screen stuff, them trying to get back into. I just can't think of an affordable way.
I see that as remember they were talking so big about how they're going to have a switch, multiple switches in every household.
Yeah.
And I really think they got big plans on some of these. I think they got big plans to put like 2 or 3, 4 switches together and be able to play a game across 3 or 4 switches.
Now you're starting to think about the things that came to my mind. Local multiplayer.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about like 1-2 switch style games where you're like passing things between each other. That came to mind. But I also thought of things kind of using it in a sort of wireless way like we did with the 3DS. Things like Street Pass style exchanges. Trading Pokemon dip between 2 games. How genius would that be if you ran into your buddy with a Switch and you wanted to trade it and you just like slide your finger across the screen and there it went and he slid his back.
You know what? Remember when phones had that feature that and maybe they still do, where you could
make them touch
together to make you could bump uglies to exchange to exchange your internal information. I like that never took off. It's just like it's fun and it's neat, but it's annoying and awkward at the same time. It's something you do just to try it, and I just don't see it. I still don't see it becoming a thing. That said,
walk around with a 3DS in your pocket to earn play coins
or
pretty much
a Switch. Well, yeah, that too. But I mean, I mean having to set your 2 switches together, for example, to trade Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's reminiscent of the old days when you do it over IR on the old DS, and you'd have to like point the sensors right at each other, and you couldn't move them. If you picked up your 3DS and moved it, it would break the transfer, and you know what I mean. I see that being more annoying than anything else if it works that way. That said, putting 2 switches down side by side on a table to make like a board game board or something, you know what I mean? Things like that. Yeah. I could see them doing creative stuff like that. And like Jason's saying, the idea that you could like bring up your Pokemon once you're synced up and you just swipe it over towards your friend's your friend's Switch, if it's location aware or at least positionally aware.
You could do that with your Switch to their Switch. You wouldn't need a second screen for that necessarily.
That's true.
You could do things like card games where you've each got your own hand on your own tablet and no one else can see it.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is the functionality between the 2 screens. the functionality between the 2 screens is what's in the patent. It's not necessarily indicating it's a second screen for the Switch or whatever. It could just be 2 switches.
Yeah,
and so they're going to have some kind of gameplay where you're dragging stuff from one Switch to the other or whatever. And yeah, I can totally see that.
And I should mention, this does also mention other things outside of just like transferring information. It mentions combining like mic use and I guess IR camera use and things like that. So it could be
interesting.
It could be more creative than just what we're thinking, I think. But who knows? Interesting.
We may never see it. Maybe it's for their next thing. Yeah, move along.
Maybe it's like self-walking legs. Yeah, never see the light of day. But I mean, it immediately looks like a feature that Nintendo would totally up Nintendo's alley. One of those weird, quirky features that they would use in a handful of first-party games. Maybe a couple third-party devs would mess with here and there, and then would never get used again. Right? Yep. That's
what could make them rich though. What would do a lot better than that is if Nintendo had a Nintendo app that had a function called second screen, where within the Nintendo app you can make your phone or your tablet into a second screen that you can use, rather than selling you a second screen.
Isn't
Although
that
like
exactly Microsoft Smart Glass?
maybe.
Except that in this case, it is a literal second
Yeah.
screen in addition to the screen. Well, it's still exactly Microsoft
Yeah.
Smart Glass. They tried to do that with the Wii U when everyone thought, ooh, Nintendo's new Wii U, it's going to be huge. We better clone that. And so Microsoft tried Smart Glass and Sony tried the second screen thing with the Vita.
Yeah.
And
But
neither
like even
of those
with
ever took off.
Splatoon 2, which is in the Nintendo app, like what if you could just glance down at your phone and have a live feed of
we
the
talked
ink on the
about
map,
that. Yeah, we talked about that. And how, I mean, even if it wasn't tappable to jump, it would still be a valuable feature. To just have, every second or every couple second updates. Like, right? Yeah. If you would look at the map on Splatoon, sometimes it would be a second or two behind updating. That was good enough.
Yeah, Momo brings up a good point though, because they said that they're going to find new functionality to interact with in different ways. A functionality between your phone and your Switch would be perfect. There'd be a lot of possibilities.
Well, they've already technically done that though.
Yeah, but they could do a lot more than. I mean, that app is terrible.
Yeah, I know, but right, that's Nintendo's MO. Is they come up with an idea and then they throw minimal support at it, and then they just dump it and move on to the next.
Check out this high-tech app we came up with that no one's ever going to use because it doesn't really do anything. But we're online. We've got an app. Move it on.
All right. I think that is going to wrap us up for this evening. So we've brought you the drought. We've brought you the future. So who knows what next week will bring. But it's
Labo.
That's Labo, yeah. We'll have our first Labo impressions next week. So look forward to that. And it is getting really close to a certain anniversary for a certain podcast. So you never know when you might see something new.
It's true.
I have to have some flashback topics next week, so we'll see. But thanks for tuning in. We're glad you're listening along with us. And, of course, if you want to chat at us, hit us up on Twitter. We're always glad to talk to you guys. Of course, you can leave comments here on YouTube. And you can also listen in to us on Spotify.
We
Not Spotify.
wish.
Sure, in iTunes. We're not quite that far along yet. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Good night.
Party on.
Good evening.
Have a good night.